Apartment 2A. This is the place. There doesn't seem to be anyone at home. The number is a bit faded. Is this 2B or is it not 2B? That's the question. And I thought the housekeeping in my apartment was bad.
Yeah? May I help you, young man?
Hello, madam. My name is Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator. I have some questions about your neighbor.
You mean my former neighbor?
Yes. In any case, I'd appreciate it if you could help me with some information.
Nah, I don't think so. The last person to ask me about him was that awful policeman. I don't want to have to go through that again.
I'm sorry you had a bad experience, but I can assure you I won't give you a hard time.
Well, that's easy for you to say, but actions speak louder than words.
Uh-oh. I think I know where this is going.
Is there anything I can do for you then?
Well, since you asked. My layabout husband is out wasting our retirement fund with his drinking. Go find him and bring him back here. Then maybe we can talk.
Oh, wonderful. Now we're playing babysitter.
You'll find him at the Silent Raven. It's not too far from here.
Yes, I know it.
Good. My husband's name is Kurt Williamson. You tell him his wife Ethel wants him home at once.
I'll do my best, Mrs. Williamson. Excuse me, are you Kurt Williamson?
That's right. Who are you?
Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator.
Oh, yeah? What is it you want from me?
Ethel sent me to tell you she wants you to come home right away.
I should have known. I can't get away for more than a few hours before she's put the entire city on high alert. How much of my retirement fund did she waste on getting you to come down here?
I'm only doing this because I need some information.
The joke's on you, then. You can just go back and tell her I'll come home when I'm damn well ready.
Why is it you're so averse to returning home?
I enjoy going out and having a good time. Is that so wrong?
Your wife told me she doesn't like you spending your money on drink.
What I spend my money on is none of her business, and even less of yours. What's this world coming to when a man can't even drink in peace without all his affairs shouted from the rooftops?
You know, this whole situation seems awfully familiar.
Listen, Mr. Williamson, I think I know what you're going through.
Oh, yeah?
My wife and I were having a rough patch. I wasn't being honest with her, and it nearly drove us apart.
But you managed to fix things.
Yes, I was fortunate. I did the right thing before it was too late.
And what did you do?
It was simple. I just communicated honestly and openly with her. I told her what was wrong and how I was feeling. And you know what? She listened. Have you ever told Ethel why you like going out?
No. I assumed she wouldn't understand. I really wish she would come out with me, but I know she'd never agree.
How do you know? Have you actually talked to her about this?
Well, no.
Well, then maybe you should. If she knew you wanted company, she might just give it a try.
You know, I never thought of it like that. I'm going to go home right now and tell her. And if she refuses, well, at least I asked, right?
That's the spirit.
Thanks for the advice, friend. I really do appreciate it.
Not bad. I have to say, I'm impressed.
Excuse me, barmaid?
Hi, what do you need?
Do you know anything about the man sitting at that table over there?
Not really. He comes in here a few times a week, but he mostly keeps to himself. I see his type all the time, though. Older, probably retired and looking to escape his home life. I feel sorry for him, but that sort of customer is my bread and butter.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
What is that, some fancy drink concoction?
No. It's the name that's been given to a serial murderer here in the Chum.
I see. Never heard of him. And if he's smart, he won't show his face round here.
You know, this place suddenly feels just a little bit safer.
How are things here now that the election hubbub has subsided?
Oh, right. I thought you looked familiar. You were the one in here asking about the fellow who was killed.
That's right.
Well, there hasn't been too much excitement since then. I've hardly had to toss anyone out, which is a right shame.
Why's that?
Kicking out a rowdy customer shakes things up a bit on a quiet night like this. Gets the blood flowing, you know?
What would a customer have to do to warrant being thrown out?
My general rule is if they're being a nuisance, they're out. If they try to pick a fight or are just being generally disrespectful, it's a one-way ticket to the pavement outside.
Good to know. I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
Ah, Mr. Fordham, thank you so much for getting Kurt back home.
Don't mention it. Now, would you be willing to answer some questions?
Why, yes, of course.
Tell me what you know about Burley Cause.
He and his wife hadn't been living next door very long, maybe 4 months or so. But I didn't talk to either of them very much. They weren't interested in being neighborly, I guess. It's a shame, really. Maybe if we had known one another better, something like this could have been prevented.
What happened on the day Mr. Cause was killed?
I was here, at home, doing my knitting as usual. All of a sudden, I heard a loud bang. It sounded like a gunshot. I went and knocked on Mrs. Cause's door, but there was no answer. I did notice a smell, though, like flowers. Something seemed wrong, so I decided to report the incident to the police. Not long after that, an officer showed up and started asking questions. Awful man he was, so rude. I gotta report him, but I forgot his name. I think it started with a P.
Parsons?
Yes, that's him. He called for some more officers and they got into the apartment. That's when I found out Mr. Cause had been murdered.
Where is Mrs. Cause now?
I don't know, with her mother maybe. That's usually how it goes.
You wouldn't happen to know where that is, would you?
Afraid not, but there is one other thing.
Yes?
Don't say I told you this, but, well, I used to hear the two of them through my wall. I tried ignoring it since it's really none of my business, but it became impossible.
What was it you heard?
I don't believe they had a happy marriage. They'd have awful fights a couple times a week.
What would they fight about?
Oh, all sorts of things. The worst one was when she discovered he was going to a brothel. I think he might have hit her on a few occasions, too, but I can't be certain. I hope you don't think me a horrible old gossip, but I thought you might like to know.
Not at all. I'm glad you told me. Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
You mean the serial killer who's been killing men in Chumley?
That's the one.
Nah, never heard of him.
What?
I'm just pulling your leg, Mr. Fordham.
I like this one. She's got spirit.
Unfortunately, I only know what I've read in the Gazette, but it's scary to think some maniac is loose on the streets doing such terrible things. And with Kurt going out by himself for hours at a time, oh, I don't like it one bit.
How long have you been living here?
Well, Kurt and I moved in shortly after we were married, so it's been about 34 years.
Goodness, that's a long time to be living in one place.
Yes, well, the building may be a bit run down, and it gets colder than cold in the winter, but the rent has always been cheap. You can't really ask for much more than that.
I appreciate your time, Mrs. Williamson.
Have a good day, Mr. Fordham.
Remember, a black eye is not a badge of honor. Anyone picking a fight will be dismissed immediately. Well, that's hardly any fun, is it? A good old reliable hansom cab. Nothing fancy, just gets you from point A to point B, the way it should be. I thought about a career as a mechanic once. Glad I chose police work. Way less messy.
Good evening.
Oh, it's you again. Small world.
Indeed, Mr. Shaw, was it?
That's right. So, what brings you around to the cab depot?
I wanted to ask you some questions if you can spare some time.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Did you know Reggie Willingham?
Reggie? Sure, I knew him. Well, just as rather I didn't.
Oh? Why do you say that?
The man was a bore, a scoundrel, a no-good bounder.
I wish he would tell us how he really felt.
Only reason they kept him on here was because he was a good driver.
So it's fair to say you didn't like him?
Nobody did. When I heard he'd been killed, wasn't exactly a surprise. If I treated people the way he did, I'd surely have a lot of enemies.
Could you elaborate a bit on Mr. Willingham's behavior?
Oh, he was a proud one. Thought he was God's gift to mankind. Always strutting around, bragging about how many gratuities he'd earned or how many fist fights he'd won against drivers from Phillips. He had the shortest fuse I've ever seen, too. Just looking at him the wrong way could set him off. I'd always laugh to myself when he'd brag about how many women he'd had in a week.
Why is that?
Because it was obvious he had to pay for the pleasure. A man like that isn't going to get a woman otherwise. I may not be a hit with the ladies, but even I know that being a bastard is a surefire way to drive 'em off.
Are you familiar with the so-called justice killer?
I've heard a few rumors here and there about some murders in the chum, but I haven't paid 'em much attention. There's plenty for me to worry about in my own life.
Aren't you concerned for your safety?
Not really. Well, I haven't done anything wrong, so if this loony's going around doing justice, it's nothing for me to worry about.
He makes a good point. I think we need to get a better idea of what exactly these victims did to incur the wrath of our killer.
What can you tell me about Colson Cabs?
Not a bad place, really. Only problem is the number of people always coming here for work. Lots of folks think driving a cab is an easy job that anyone can do, but that's not the case. You need to know this city like the back of your hand, and it helps to know how to drive. So we get lots of fellas starting here who don't have the slightest clue what they're doing. They don't last long.
What about the automated cabs? Are those a problem for you?
I prefer not to think about those. Colson has said he's got no plans to replace his fleet, so it's all that matters to me.
Are you still living in Pumblechook Place?
I am, sir. Things are more or less the same, except Roger's not around anymore. Suppose he must have moved on. Hope he isn't planning on coming back, 'cause his paintings made for great kindling.
Oh, I have a feeling he won't be. Have you had any trouble from the Redites?
No, sir. They got no reason to give us any trouble, what with us still using horse-drawn cabs. I imagine the fellas over at Phillips have, but I can't be certain. We don't deal with those lot if we can help it.
I don't think interviewing anyone from Phillips would be a good use of our time. Our priority is finding the justice killer, after all.
I appreciate your time, sir.
Pleasure's all mine.
Blank surfaces don't stay that way for very long around here. Blank surfaces don't... This sign could use a fresh coat of paint.
Huh? What? Who is it?
Hello, sir. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Go ahead, but make it quick. Time is money, after all.
Did you employ a man named Ennis Bowditch?
I did, yes. He only worked for me occasionally, but he was always punctual and performed his job well. I learned recently that he had been killed. It was a tremendous shame. Workers of his caliber are so hard to come by.
Do you have any information relating to Mr. Bowditch's murder?
I'm afraid not. The truth is, I knew very little about him. It's the same with most of my men. I have a business to run, you see. It affords me very little time to socialize.
Are you familiar with the Justice Killer?
I believe I saw a headline in the newspaper recently mentioning that name, but I dismissed it as fear-mongering nonsense. There are more important things I need to worry about.
but the Justice Killer is directly responsible for the death of one of your workers.
Oh? Is that right? Well, there's nothing I can do about it. What my men get up to in their off time is none of my business.
Wow, this guy is even worse than you, Miles.
What does your work here involve?
I'm in charge of tracking and cataloging all the cargo that passes through here. I receive the shipping manifest and make sure that things get unloaded and sent to the right places.
And you do all this by yourself?
Well, of course not. I'm in charge of administration. A team of workers does all the heavy lifting.
Thank you for your time. I'll let you return to work.
Right you are.
Trevor Hastings, is that you?
Why, Detective Fordham. Fancy seeing you again. What brings you down to the docks?
I'm trying to track down a serial murderer, who I believe is the same man who was breaking into the flower shop.
You don't say. I wish I could help you, but the guy never came back after the night you and your partner came around. Where is your partner anyway?
Oh, he's around.
Well, give him my regards. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get this crate back, or Cecilia will have my head on a platter.
Of course. Good seeing you again.
He's around? That's probably the most clever thing you've said in months. Well done. Ah, the chum. You can never truly get away from it as much as you may try. What, you want me to howl at it or something?
Chief Snelling?
Yes, Fordham?
Have you got any information on the Redites?
The Redites? That ridiculous gang of troublemakers? Yes, I have some information. What's your interest in them?
A witness is refusing to speak with me unless I can figure out who sabotaged his iron mill.
I see. All I can offer is a list of names of known Redites along with their last known whereabouts. But I remind you that you only have until tomorrow afternoon before this indulgence expires, and I throw you in jail. This seems like a waste of time.
That's my decision to make.
Very well. I'll give you the list when you're ready to leave.
I need to get back to my investigation.
Yes. Time is not on your side, Fordham. Here you are. This is the most recent list of known Redites.
This is a lot of names. If we're going to track down this saboteur, it might be best to retire to a more tranquil environment. Fancy a trip back to Upton's? Right, this should be a quiet enough spot to concentrate on finding that saboteur. I just hope Upton doesn't mind you turning her parlor into your own personal study.
I'm sure she'll have no objection. Now, let's have a look at that list again.
I think we can rule out Mr. Sullivan as a suspect. He's Western Vespuccia's problem now. Unless Mr. McKee has escaped from prison, which I highly doubt, he's not our man. Paris Wilson. Those initials don't match the ones on the letter. I don't think this is our suspect. If dead men could cause explosions, let's just say things would be a lot different. This clearly isn't the right suspect. Peyton Ferguson. The initials match those on the letter we got at the Lamplight depot.
I'd say it's our best bet.
Lucian Donaldson. Those initials don't match the ones on the letter. I don't think this person is our suspect.
Well, well, who's this lovely specimen?
Allow me to introduce Peyton Ferguson, known Redite and prime suspect in a sabotage at the Thorbomb Ironworks. I picked him up and brought him straight to you.
Ooh, a saboteur. Just leave him to me and I'll make him feel right at home.
Please find the Justice Killer soon, Miles. Being Giles' prisoner is not my idea of a good time.
Right. I'll leave you to it then. Mr. Mims, a word if you wouldn't mind?
Yes, what is it?
I found the person responsible for sabotaging your iron mill.
Oh yeah?
His name is Peyton Ferguson. He's currently at the Bow Street Jail.
Hey, not bad. I owe you one, Detective.
He certainly does.
What can you tell me about Hannibal Kirkland?
Good worker. Mostly kept to himself. Real shame what happened to him.
Do you know if anyone here disliked Kirkland?
Enough to want him dead? Nah, there's the occasional scrap, but everyone around here gets along for the most part. Like I said, he mostly kept to himself. Head down, didn't bother nobody.
Do you know what he did outside of work?
No idea. I only ever saw him here.
You said Kirkland was a good worker?
One of my best. I knew something was up when he didn't show up for a couple of days. Don't think he'd ever missed work before.
Did he have any personal effects he kept here, or an area where he worked?
He had a cabinet downstairs in the workers' changing area, just like everyone else. You can go take a look if you want, but I don't think the police found anything. Kirkland's cabinet is the third one from the left.
I'll be going now.
Be careful on your way out.
Sounds like there's someone in there. If you weren't so bashful, I'd suggest joining in. You could certainly use it. At least having a heater down here manages to keep things warm. I remember the changing rooms at the police station were always ice cold.
Mr. Mims, a word if you wouldn't mind?
Yes, what is it?
Would you happen to know the combination to Hannibal Kirkland's cabinet?
No. Every worker sets their own combination, and I don't ask for it.
What happens if they were to forget it?
Well, have them come up with some sort of personal reminder and keep those in a file.
And do you still have Kirkland's?
I'll give it to you as soon as we're done talking.
I'll be going now.
Be careful on your way out. There you go. You're lucky I only clean out my files at the end of the year.
See, I always told you I wasn't disorganized, just preparing for the future. Empty. That's disappointing.
Not completely empty. There's something at the bottom here.
It seems our friend Hannibal had a few extracurricular activities after all.
Gilded lily, huh? That's a bit suspicious.
Who knew such a pretty flower could cause such an inconvenience? The answer to that question is me, in case you were wondering. Flowers bring nothing but trouble. Trouble and snot.
That's enough, Phil. We need to get a move on.
Well, hello there, handsome. Welcome to the Gilded Lily. Come over here and tell me what kind of pleasure it is you're looking for.
I'm afraid I'm here for business, not pleasure.
Oh, well, that's just a shame, isn't it?
I'm Miles Fordham, private investigator. And you are?
You can call me Serafina. I'm in charge of this establishment.
You won't mind if I take a look around or ask you some questions?
As long as you keep to the front room, you can do whatever you like. Beyond that, you're gonna have to pay.
Maybe it's best if you leave this part out when you tell Adelaide about the case later. I'm not too familiar with places like this, but I believe that's where the fun happens, if you've got the crowns for it. Oh, my virgin eyes! What a charming statue. Wouldn't she get cold fetching water in that state of undress? Looks nervous. Wonder if this is his first time. You certainly won't find art like that at the National Gallery.
May I ask you a few questions, Serafina?
Of course you may, but I can't guarantee the answers will be free.
Do you know anything about the Justice Killer?
I'm afraid not, dear. I don't normally associate with killers.
Are you sure you don't know anything? He's the reason I'm here.
Well, I can assure you I know nothing about your murderer. If the trail has led you here, it's surely just coincidence.
Yeah, she seems awfully certain of that. It's a good thing we don't believe in coincidences.
Did you have a man named Hannibal Kirkland as a client?
I make it my practice not to learn the names of any customers here, Mr. Fordham. I hate to disappoint anyone who comes through those doors, but discretion is paramount in this business.
Well, at least you know you can trust these women with your secrets.
Do you by chance have a girl named Ruby in your service?
Ruby? Yes, she's one of our newest girls. She's not in any sort of trouble, is she?
Not at all. I merely wanted to speak with her.
Well, she should be in the dressing room. If you go through the rear door and follow the hallway down, it's the last door on the left.
I see. Thank you. Did you know Percival McDonough?
The politician? I knew who he was, but never met him personally.
He was seeing Ruby, wasn't he?
Not regularly, no. In fact, his first and only visit with her was yesterday.
Were you aware that he was murdered shortly after that?
I had no idea. How terrible.
Yes, it is terrible. This means she's lost a potential repeat customer.
This is a lovely establishment you have, and such a nice name, too.
Thank you, my dear. It wasn't always called the Gilded Lily, though. We were formerly known as Le Maison de Tolérance.
What inspired the name change?
That's a bit of a long story. Not worth getting into.
How long have you been operating?
Going on 25 years. Business has been good. There's a reason this is the world's oldest profession, you know.
So, how did you get into this business?
Like many of the other girls, it was the best of some bad options. I had no interest in being beholden to a husband. I may be a fallen woman, but better to fly and fall than to have your wings clipped.
Do you enjoy the work?
It's a job like any other, Mr. Fordham. There are good days and there are bad days. But my girls are my family. We take care of each other. I couldn't ask for anything better.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, my dear.
Oh, hello. Did Serafina send you back here for me?
Yes, but not for the usual reasons. I'm a private investigator. My name is Miles Fordham. Ruby, I presume?
Yes, that's right. What do you need from me?
just some information.
Well, I'll do my best.
So, Ruby,
Yes?
have you heard of the Justice Killer?
No, I don't believe so.
He's a serial murderer who's killed 5 victims, mostly men from Chumley.
Oh dear, that sounds dreadful. Is that what you're investigating?
It is. Do you know anyone who might have some information about him?
I don't. Sorry I can't be more help.
Did you ever have a client named Hannibal Kirkland?
No, that name doesn't sound familiar. Sorry.
Do you know Ennis Bowditch?
Bowditch? Didn't think I'd be hearing that name again.
As I understand it, he was seeing your friend, the serving girl at the ruined coffee house.
Yeah, that's right. Annabelle. She broke things off with him a while ago, though.
So she said. Did you ever know him to be violent?
Violent? The bastard nearly beat Annabelle's brains in once. Why do you think she chucked him?
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
At least she had the good sense to get rid of him.
Perhaps we should go confirm this newly discovered fact with Annabelle.
Did you ever meet a man named Burley Cause?
No, I never met him, but one of the other girls had him as a client. I remember because she was laughing about his name. He wasn't very burly, if you get my meaning.
Right. Are you familiar with Reggie Willingham?
Oh, him? He had to be banned from here.
Really? What happened?
He got way too rough with one of the girls. She ended up shy a few teeth.
Dear Lord.
Yeah, apparently he wasn't too fond of boundaries. Good riddance to him, I say.
Were you aware that Mr. Willingham was murdered?
What? Oh, well, now I feel terrible for saying good riddance. I meant...
I think I know what you meant, Ruby. It's fine.
Is it me, or is there a pattern starting to emerge here?
You met recently with Percival McDonough, is that right?
How did you know that? I thought he was meant to keep those sorts of things private.
He had your name written down in his calendar.
And you found me here based on that?
Well, I am a detective.
Suppose that's true. Anyway, yes, I only met him the one time. There wasn't anything remarkable about him. After we finished, he got all emotional about his wife, but I could hardly understand what he was saying. I hate it when they cry afterwards.
How long have you been in this business?
Only a few months now. Used to work at a kitchen, but then they brought in some of those new automated machines.
Ah, sadly familiar story.
At least this profession isn't in any danger of being made obsolete by steam tech. Cold steel can never replace a warm touch.
Let's just hope that's true.
I'll just leave you to it then.
Thanks, love.
The girls here don't get much in the way of a dressing area. Still, something is better than nothing, I suppose. Lily, 1809 to 1843. I wonder what happened to her. Cut down in her prime. I can relate. No lilies? Seems like a missed opportunity. That's a nice locket for being such a cheap piece of jewelry. I'm guessing this is where most of the girls keep their personal belongings. Doesn't seem to offer much in the way of privacy.
May I ask you a few questions, Serafina?
Of course you may, but
Could you tell me about the young lady in the portrait hanging in the back room?
that's Lily Peterson. She was a wonderful woman and a great friend.
What happened to her?
It's a rather tragic story, Mr. Fordham. I'd rather not go into too much detail. The short version is this. She was with a client who got very carried away. She was able to defend herself enough to mortally wound the bastard, but the damage had already been done. The girls and I decided among us that we would rename this establishment in her honor. Some days it's still hard to believe she's gone. I haven't even been able to get rid of her box of things.
I'm very sorry for your loss, Serafina.
Thank you, dear. It was especially awful given Lily's past. Her sister died at the hands of her own husband some 16 years before. Some people just can't escape tragedy, no matter how far they run.
Something tells me these deaths are significant. It might be a good idea to learn as much as we can about Lily Peterson.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, my dear.
The girls here don't get much.
So, Ruby,
Yes?
that's a rather nice portrait. Who's the subject?
Oh, that's Lily. Before my time. Serafina knows loads about her. Even changed the name of this place in her honor. You might try asking her if you want to know more.
Serafina told me that Lily's possessions are still here. Do you know where they're kept?
Yeah, in that cabinet over there. Lily had a special place in Serafina's heart. I don't think she has the nerve to get rid of this stuff yet.
Do you think I could take a look through it?
Oh, I don't know.
Serafina never has to know. I promise I'll only look, not touch.
If I had a crown for every time I'd heard that. But, alright. As long as you keep your word and don't take anything from the box, I'll let you have a look. I'll get it for you after.
I'll just leave you to it then.
Thanks, love. There you go. All yours for the browsing.
Let's see what we have in here. Nice scarf, impressively clean, too. Lily clearly took care of her things. A cheap ring. Must have had sentimental value, because otherwise there'd be no point in keeping it. These don't look too valuable. One of 3 buttons with an engraved lily on it. I wonder if they're just decorative or if they have some other purpose. Well now, I think we just found ourselves a bonanza.
May I ask you a few questions, Serafina?
Of course you may.
Serafina, what can you tell me about Lily's nephew?
Her nephew? I didn't know she had a nephew. Lily didn't talk much about her family, as you can probably imagine.
You're not lying to me, are you?
I have nothing to hide from you.
Except maybe the truth. But I don't think we have what we need to make her talk. If there even is anything that would make her talk.
Thank you for your time.
Of course, my dear.
Chief Snelling?
Yes, Fordham?
Do you recall a murder involving a woman named Lily Peterson about a year ago?
Lily Peterson? Yes, that name does sound familiar. Of course, the prostitute murder. That wasn't one of yours, was it?
No, it wasn't. Do you remember any other details?
As I recall, the woman was beaten severely by one of her clients, who escaped and was never found. She died a few days later in the hospital. How is this of any relevance, exactly?
That's what I'm trying to piece together. Did you know that Lily Peterson had a sister who was killed some 16 years ago?
I didn't. Are you suggesting that's related somehow?
I think it is. Would you be able to get me the case file?
What was the victim's name?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
That might be a bit more difficult, unless you can give me more details.
I'll try my best.
Very well. What year did you say the case was from?
It was 16 years ago, so 1828.
Right. And who was the detective assigned to the case?
It was Lester Barnett.
Right. He was quite active in those days. And what was the victim's official cause of death?
It was strangulation.
All right. I'll have a look and see if I find anything. Ah, yes. Here we are. This should be a match. Have a look.
So we have our killer's last name and possible first name, assuming he's the same man Linda Walker talked about. Perhaps it's time to ask about him at the docks.
You again? What do you need?
A few more questions, if you don't mind. Do you know a man named Samuel Collins?
Yes, I do. He's one of my workers.
Is he working today?
No, it's his day off. Why do you ask?
I'm very interested in speaking with him. Could you tell me where I can find him?
I don't just give out information on my men to strangers. What reason do you have for wanting to speak with him?
I believe he may be involved in some serious crimes.
Is that right? And what are these serious crimes exactly?
I believe he stole from one of your customers.
What? From who?
The Hanbrook Flower Shop. He stole several orders of Easter lilies.
The Hanbrook Flower Shop? They're not one of my customers. I only sell to wholesalers.
A minor detail. The point remains that your man's a burglar.
That's quite a serious claim. What proof do you have?
You can hear it straight from the man who works at the shop that was burgled.
Well, where is he then?
Wait here just a moment. Excuse me, Mr. Hastings?
What is it, Detective? As I said, I'm rather busy.
I was wondering if you might help me with something. Could you please tell the shipping manager over there about the burglaries at your flower shop?
Certainly.
Go ahead, Mr. Hastings.
Right. It all started around 5 months ago. And he didn't come around again after that night.
Thank you, Mr. Hastings. That'll do. Now are you convinced?
Fine. I hate to lose two of my men in such a short amount of time, but if he's done wrong, I can't just stand by. Samuel lives in Chumley, at 210 Abattoir Row.
Thank you, sir. You may have just saved several lives.
But I'm going to have to spend several crowns in order to get things back to normal. Now, if you'll excuse me...
Samuel Collins?
Yes?
I'm Terrence Shackley from the Labor Department. I wanted to ask you some questions about your employer at the docks.
Oh, of course. Please come in. I'm sorry, what did you say your name was?
Terrence Shackley? But it's not my real name. I just used it to get into your apartment. I believe you did something similar at the Houses of Parliament with Mr. McDonough.
So, you're Fordham, the one who was snooping around at the Gilded Lily.
Indeed. We meet again, Mr. Collins.
Of course. The rooftop. I'm sorry about what happened to your partner. It wasn't my intent for him to die.
Oh, he's sorry, is he? Is that supposed to make things better?
I suppose this encounter was inevitable. But I admit I didn't think it would be this soon. So, you're here to arrest me.
That's right. Samuel Collins, I'm placing you under arrest for the murders of Percival McDonough, Burley Cause, Ennis Bowditch, Hannibal Kirkland, and Reggie Willingham.
Oh, please. Every one of those men deserved what they got.
Why do you say that? None of those men killed anyone.
No. What they did was far worse. Inexcusable. Unforgivable. I had to make sure justice was done.
I understand your reasons, but that doesn't mean your actions were justified. You need to pay for your crimes, one way or another.
My crimes? What about theirs? If not for me, they would have gotten away with them.
There are other ways of upholding justice, Collins. Ways that don't involve mass murder.
The system is broken. Criminals get away all the time. You know that.
Only too well.
But you comprehend my situation. You understand my reasons for doing what I do.
Understanding is not the same as approval.
But it is the first step.
Is this bastard really suggesting what I think he is?
All I ask is that you allow me to continue my work in peace.
You asked me to look the other way once before, and I refused.
Yes, and it cost your partner's life.
Well, this time it's just you and me, and I'm still not going to let you off. You're out of your mind if you think I'm going to just let you keep killing.
Damn right, Miles. This has to end.
Then you leave me no choice.
Fordham, are you all right?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank God you're a better shot than I was.
So, this is our justice killer?
That's right.
I suppose congratulations are in order. You did well in finding him.
Thank you, Chief Snelling. I'm glad we were finally able to work together.
Yes, well, I'm glad you weren't so brash as to confront him without notifying me first. Perhaps there is hope for you yet. Now then, I'll go get the other officers so we can lock down the scene and remove the body. Wait here.
Quite a night, hey, Bill? Bill? Are you there? Bill? Oh.
It's good of you to do this, Miles. Do you need some time alone?
If you wouldn't mind.
All right. I'll wait for you over by the sycamores.
So, it's finally over. I have to admit, it's been strange not hearing you all the time anymore. Never in a million years did I think I would actually miss it. But the important thing is you've moved on, and I got what I was looking for. I'm starting up my own private detective agency, you know. Addie and Upton are going to be my partners. It should be interesting, to say the least. Oh, that reminds me. I brought you a little something. It's not much, but I thought you might appreciate it. Thank you for all your help, Bill. I truly would have been lost without it. Rest in peace, Bill. I love you.
go! See? God, this bird's annoying. Dearest?
Hold on, sorry.
Cormac's just going to pop inside for a quick putt. God damn it, Barbosa! Get out of me!
The only hotel that comes to mind is the Ballston Arms in Jesus Christ. But all the victims have been men in Chomsky. Chumley! Shut up! Chumley. That is my new least favorite word. But all the victims have been men in Damn it. Chumley. A woman in the Chumley. I hate Chumley so much.
Come on, there's not a moment to lose. Sorry, I just wanted to make him feel like I'm excited.
That's fine. He is excited.
How can you tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile?
How?
One will see you later, and the other will see you in a while.
You're fired.
You're going to retell that joke, though.
I am.
You know you are.
Mr. Fordham, you mentioned you value discretion. I ask you to please exercise some now. But clearly the drummer next door doesn't value discretion.
Speaking of discretion, a drum set. That's awesome. Hello, madam. My name's Files Mortem, and I'm a Ivet Investigator. Sorry, hold on 2 seconds here.
Pretty soon it'll be debutante. I hate Gascon Grand Dames. It's okay. It's all in my brain. Okay.
Can we do that whole thing again?
Sure.
Is that right, the way you want it, or is it stupid? That's the way I do it.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
It is nowhere near stupid.
Okay.
All right.
Uh-huh.
She's the LeBron James of the prostitutes. Got it. Cool.
Hello. I am Guy Dumas, the female servant at the Dupré Manor.
Let's go with that.
So this is a case for Monsieur Pig. It was you, Guy Dumas.
Who knows? Maybe someday I'll have me hand back. It's like a pirate. Have me hand back. Arr. Hi, matey. No more. No, it didn't occur to me that the cake and that had to be the most difficult thing I've ever done. like I just don't even know what happened.
I know. I thought it was funny. I don't care, you two pixies, out the door, through the window. Oh, it's been so long. I remember a hot rum punch. No, not nearly cold enough for that. Nearly cold enough. Mulled wine, easy on the cinnamon. Off with you, my good man.
Burly Cause.
All these names were generated with the internet Victorian name.
Oh, really? That's awesome. Okay.
It's already had a negative effect on your performance.
I thought we was friends.
China?
Oh, that was my secret to tell, not hers. I thought we were friends.
See, this is why you can never go to the UK.
I know. Oh, forget it. On duty? On duty. On duty. Duty.
On duty. That's the line. Okay.
On duty? What are you, a cop? On duty. Look who's on duty. You a police officer on duty? Somebody's on duty. On duty?
What are you, a cop?
I see Chumley coming, and it's like, wow, that can't be how that. Yeah. Okay. The pronunciation, I love the fact that it's pronounced that way. I can't wait to see people try and like read that and freak out when they see it. All right.
Everyone has so far.
Yeah, because my God, look at it.
It's just you're the lucky one that gets to say it the most.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, get away from me, you horrid man. You smell like rotten cheese.
Are those the lines?
No.
Almost.
I've got some nuts for you. Oh, how do you like this little acorn? Is this? Oh, this one has your name on it. Oh, and this one has your name on it. Oh, you little darlings. Oh, yes. Give me your little squirrely hugs. Oh, you little sweetie pies. Oh, I love you so.
Excuse me. Had a bit too much chili for lunch.
Yeah, brother. Well, it hasn't been easy, my brother, you know, and, no. Hey, brother, where the bitches at, brother? Yeah. Come on now, we at the Ruined Coffee House, man.
It's nice to know someone like you can appreciate some of the finer points of culture. Oh, God, she's a horrible person. For God's sakes.
Well, she gets schooled in this.
Good.
Opium is one hell of a drug. Cocaine is one hell of a drug. What did the five fingers say to the face? Smack! I'm Rick James, bitch!
You've run out of dialogue options. Moving along. This ain't my first rodeo.
And it says here they still don't know what caused that brewery. This word. Oh, no. Okay. And it says here they still don't know what caused that brewery explosion. Oh, no. Can I punch brewery? Oh, no. It's literally...
We can get rid of brewery if
It's literally my whole life. That word. I love Heartland Brewery, but
If it makes you feel better, I can't say auxiliary.
Yay! Okay, it does. It does. It makes me feel like I'm not such a... oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Actually, I think someone's knocking at the door. Who can it be knocking at my door? Go away. Don't come around here no more. Aha! Aha! Saying aha is so weird. Aha! Aha! Saying aha is so weird.